I am always looking to improve my technique and provide many multiple ways for all of you to partake in different millinery practices. What better way to do this than to compare and rate various felt blocking methods? Hello and welcome to a millinery hat blocking video. My name is Ilona, I'm a milliner based in London, and today I will be trying 6 methods for blocking a felt hat. These methods range from needing expensive professional equipment to using simple home appliances that everybody has at home. If you find this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. Perhaps also share this with a millinery friend. All this helps my channel grow and reach a larger audience. Now, let's get those hat blocks out and get started. First off, I will acknowledge that this isn't the most scientific of experiments. I've had to pull footage from older videos to put this one together. That's partly for time-saving reasons, but also because some appliances I no longer have. See my Jiffy Steamer review video. Ideally, I also would have used the same block and the same type of wool felts from the same company to keep my variables in check. But we don't live in a perfect world now, do we? So let's dive right into method number 1, and that's a kettle. This is a cheap second-hand kettle. I wouldn't want to use the same kettle as I use for making my cups of tea to steam chemical-covered felts for millinery. I just don't think that sounds like a good idea. I am trying this method first because it is a truly tried and tested method throughout the ages. I have even heard that many famous modern milliners still prefer to use a kettle compared to a professional steamer today. In fact, the use of a kettle is suggested in at least 6 of my vintage and modern millinery books. I should probably have read these before embarking on this, as they do say to use less water in the kettle, as apparently that will produce more steam, but you can learn from my mistakes and only fill your kettle up halfway if you choose to try this. So, how does the kettle perform? Well, for starters, you need to find a way of keeping the lid open. From what I understand, this is kettle dependent. This particular one turns off once the water reaches boiling point if the lid is closed. But when the lid is open, it keeps steaming. As you can see, I struggled to keep the lid propped open until it jammed itself, and then I couldn't close it. The next issue for me was the safety aspect. I felt really nervous about all the condensed steam turning back into water and pooling around the base of the kettle, which is where all the electrics are. I must admit, this is partly why I didn't keep the felt over the steam long enough and then ran into my next problem. The felt wasn't pliable enough. The steam didn't penetrate the felt and I couldn't quite pull it over the top. I didn't want this hat going to waste, so I remedied the situation with my new steam iron. I know this is cheating, so in conclusion, I would not recommend this method. The cons for me are the electrical safety aspects, including the fact that most kettles come with a very short cord. So unless you have an electrical socket right at your table, you will have to use it with an extension lead. And of course, the obvious con, my blocking was unsuccessful without the additional use of a steam iron to shrink the top. However, I don't want to discourage you from trying to block a felt in this way if a kettle is all you have at home. Hopefully you've also got a steam iron, and in combination a kettle plus a steam iron can work with a little bit of effort. Welcome to my kitchen. Other than everyone having a kettle, hopefully you've also got a stove handy. Mine is an electric induction hob. Safety warning here, if you have a gas hob, please don't do this method, as felt near open flames is definitely a fire hazard. I have placed a pot half filled with water onto the stove and let it boil up. Next goes my felt and a plastic bag over the top. I am much more comfortable here than at the kettle. I don't have to worry about all the water droplets accumulating around the base of my pot and under the plastic bag. After about 10 minutes of steaming, I tried to pull the felt over the block, but it still wasn't pliable enough, so back onto the steam it goes for another 5 minutes. That pulls much better. I'm still having to use a lot of strength to pull it all the way down and then fix it with my blocking cord. I then felt the top and I could feel some space between the wooden block and the felt, so that means it needs a little more steam and some more pulling. I tried holding the block upside down over the steam from my pot, but I don't think that was doing anything, so I've had to resort to the iron to try and condense the felt rather than stretching it out. This bit of footage was filmed using my old iron, which later broke. This old iron wasn't as good at producing steam as the new one you just saw. I'm using it with a pressing cloth here to protect the surface of the wool felt. After all that effort and a quick brush, this felt is blocked. What are the cons of the stovetop method? Well, the biggest is that my kitchen was covered in felt fluff. When you block with felt, you are likely to get lots of bits of it flying off, especially if you brush it at the end of the process. Not very good for food hygiene. I spent the whole evening after this washing my kitchen very, very thoroughly. The other con, just like with the kettle, I needed the help of an iron to finish off the job. Now, for the pros, I would say this is quite an accessible method. If you don't want to do this in the kitchen, you could get one of those tabletop induction hobs. A kettle is still cheaper, but at least you don't have to worry about any of the electrics as much. Nor would you have to find a way of propping the kettle lid open. Also, with this method, you don't want to let the pot dry out. It can be quite hard to catch that happening when it's completely covered with your felt hood. Just be careful with that one. In my opinion, even better than those two previous methods is a handheld garment steamer. That is, of course, if you can find the right kind. I used to use this one over here before it broke and I couldn't find a suitable replacement. Now, before I show you the old footage of how I use the steamer, I want to point out what I would be looking for if I was to buy another one of these. This is essentially a travel kettle and a garment steamer all in one. It has quite a long cord and a switch that can be flicked that stays on without you holding it down. It also comes with a brush head attachment and can hold up to 400 milliliters of water. And as luck would have it, as I was writing the script for this video, I had a quick look on Amazon and I came across this steamer. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but it comes with the features I've just been talking about. A cord that is long enough, a continuous supply of steam without having to hold down and press a button, a brush attachment, and a 400 milliliter tank capacity. Bonus, it came in at the right price of $29.99. I would not want to pay more for one of these. I guess a video on testing this will be coming soon, so don't forget to subscribe to not miss that. And if you're still missing YouTube notifications for my video, I highly recommend that you sign up to my mailing list as I send out links to my new videos through that once a month. Back to the blocking. Here is footage from August 2021 from my DIY plaster hat block video using my old handheld steamer. For this method, I sprayed the felt from the inside with some water. Not too much though, you don't want it to be sopping wet. According to my voiceover, I used 1.5 litres of water to steam this hat. Not sure how much time that would have been in minutes, but it does sound excessive in hindsight. Now, a dome shape is much easier to block than a beret, so I didn't need the felt to give much here. This is also before I discovered that blocking wearing rubber gloves was much more preferable. The pro of using a small handheld garment steamer is that you can use it to get the felt to conform to the grooves of blocks, especially when it has a brush attachment. Here I am using it to coax the felt over the edges of this block. Also, one of these is very useful if you work a lot with buckram or cinnamon. The cons will vary depending on the model of garment steamer. Honestly, the most important thing to look out for is that it can have continuous steam without having to press down a button. I used one like that on a hat course once and my second finger really hurt and was exhibiting symptoms of repetitive strain injury afterwards. Luckily, it wasn't serious and it cleared up after a few days of rest. But if you are having to block a lot of hats very often, you definitely don't want to be put out of action due to your equipment. Now for the professional Jiffy Steamer. This is footage from my ASMR felt hat video, and at the beginning of this video I mentioned my review of the Jiffy Steamer, so we can breeze through this evaluation quite fast and you can watch those videos for more information. The pros of the Jiffy are that it is designed to give a lot of steam fast. It is used in a lot of millinery studios where a lot of felt hats are being blocked day in and day out. When I use it, I put my felt over the spout and cover it with a plastic bag to lock in as much steam and heat as I can. In this video, I left it for 20 minutes, and as you can see, it took the shape of this rather interesting vintage block quite quickly without too much effort. The cons, it's just so expensive. I bought mine for £360, which is quite a high price to pay if millinery is your hobby. As a business expense, I think it's justified. In short, if you can afford it, it's fun to have. If you can't afford it, don't worry, you're not missing much, and the next methods I've got lined up might just surprise you. On the 24th of October 2022, the Hat magazine posted a video on their Instagram featuring milliner Denise Innes Spencer. She has written an article for issue number 95, which came out in November of that year. In that video and accompanying article, she gave her method for preparing felts for blocking. It sounded so different to anything I had ever heard of before that I thought I should test it out for you guys, so here goes. For this method, you will need a spray bottle filled with water and a Ziploc plastic bag. I have also decided to double bag using a rubber band and a plastic bin bag. First, Denise says to turn the felt inside out and wet it under a hot running tap. You don't want it sopping wet, but just damp all the way through. If it is too wet, it will make the felt unusable and your hat will take too long to dry. I must admit, I am not quite sure how it is possible to wet a felt under a tap and not have it completely soaked, but I think I managed it. Next, Denise says to fold the felt into a concertina shape, then fold it in half and spray with the water bottle and bundle it into the Ziploc bag. The aim here is to remove as much air as possible to lock it in. Then I double bagged it in my plastic bin bag and bound it up using the rubber band. I'm supposed to put it in a warm place for at least 8 hours. For me, that's my utility room.
The next day.
First off, remember to turn the felt the right way out. I almost forgot to do this. Denise says the felt is supposed to be super pliable and shouldn't need steam to block. Mine doesn't seem to be. Maybe my cupboard wasn't warm enough, but I don't have any radiators, so I'm not sure where else I could have put it. I'm going to need to cheat and use some steam from my trusted Jiffy. Let's see how long this takes. Whoops, my steamer threw a wobbly. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. I suspect there was just too much moisture and it couldn't convert it to steam fast enough. Never mind. Surprisingly, that 1 minute was long enough. That's a whole 19 minutes less than what it usually takes. And I must say, the felt is suddenly very stretchy. It's behaving almost like a fur felt and melting over the block. I still decided to add some steam from my iron though. This made the surface very lovely to brush, and this produced the best beret surface finish I have managed so far. Look at how shiny and tight that beret looks. Let's chat pros and cons. I clearly did something wrong to not be able to execute this like Denise said to. I think my felt wasn't warm enough for the 8 hours it was resting. A clear con to me in all of this is the possibility of oversaturating the felt with water under the running tap. You don't want to be working with a sopping, wet felt dripping with water. You might end up with rusting pins. You will probably damage your block with moisture, and it will take ages to dry depending on your climate. It might even start to mold. I don't think I will be doing this again. It just didn't feel very necessary, and I could just spray it all over with my spray bottle instead. Another con is that the felt was almost too stretchy. If my block had any ridges in it, I may have ripped the felt. As I said, it behaved similar to a fur felt after the overnight water treatment. I suspect this can all be overcome with practice, however. The biggest pro in all this is that if you struggle to pull felt over your blocks, say you have mobility issues or you just don't have enough strength, this could be the method for you. With some practice, I am sure this would work just fine. And now for a bit of a wild card method. Bear with me on this one. It involves a fridge. When I was at Millinery College, I have a vague memory of the teacher suggesting to spray felt with water, bag it, and leave it in the fridge overnight, which to me sounds like the opposite thing of what Denise was suggesting with leaving it in a warm place overnight. So let's try it. I'm going to go ahead and spray the inside with water. I'm aiming for even coverage and dampness. Don't let it get soppy and drip with water. Then I'm going to roll it up, place it first inside a plastic bin bag, wrap a rubber band around it, then place it in the Ziploc bag. And off it goes into the fridge overnight.
The next day.
In the morning, I took it out. It's about just as pliable as the previous warm cupboard method, so not very pliable at all. But as we already know, a little bit of steam and it's ready. Once again, that was only about 1 minute. And just as I thought, it melted over the block. I didn't need to use the iron this time. I just brushed the felt the same as before and voila. Look, I'll be honest, the whole fridge thing seems a bit gimmicky. I think we can amalgamate these last two methods into one, which I don't have time to try right now, but I will certainly be trying in the future. Next time, I will just lightly spray the felt on the inside with the spray bottle, roll it up, bag it, leave it overnight, probably just on my table, then a quick light steam in the morning and over the block it will go. Of course, the biggest con with that is that I need to be organised and prepare the felt the day before. So there you have it. Please tell me in the comments which method you currently use or which one you would be wanting to try next. I'd be super interested in hearing your thoughts on all this. And thanks again for watching, liking and subscribing. You can find me on these socials right here. Sign up to my mailing list to not miss any hat updates, and I will see you next time. Bye! Just là. Can you move? Go on. Go, go. Thank you.